Hi, I'm Pam Monks-Cronin of Pam and Marketing and Stealth Search and Analytics. Welcome to my session on From SEO to AXO, Reaching Humans in a Bot-First World. What we're getting into today is optimizing for a future where AI bots, not humans, are going to become your frontline target audience. To unpack that, we'll get into how SEO, search engine optimization, is becoming, or has already become, LLM optimization, how to optimize your content for LLMs, and how to prepare for an AI-only future. So let's start with how search engine optimization is becoming LLM optimization, or arguably already has. When all these AI chatbots first came out, ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, initially, they were a totally distinct, separate thing from web search. We still had our traditional search engines, Google and Bing, and then we had these other new fun toys. They have now evolved the AI chatbots, which are powered by large language models. We'll get into more about how that works. Those are transforming into being able to search the web and basically act as AI-powered search engines. And on the other hand, traditional search engines like Google and Bing have added LLM AI chatbot functionality to summarize their results. So basically, the two things are really morphing into one thing, which is AI-powered search. So this whole AI-powered search thing is powered by large language models combined with an ability to search the web. A large language model, although it feels like you're talking to an actual personality, is really just a text prediction engine. LLMs are trained on a massive amount of data, basically the entirety of the internet and then some. And what they do is actually predict the rest of a sentence or the answer to a question based on all the sentences they've consumed in their training. So while it feels like you're actually conversing with something that has like a brain and a personality, it's really a text prediction engine. In a sense, they actually do work very similar to the way that our brains work. If you look at this right here, predict the end of this sentence. The sky is blank. Your brain immediately said blue, right? Like you didn't even need to think about it. It just came to you, right? That's how LLMs work. They're kind of pre-programmed to know the next word in the sentence or the answer to the question the same way that your brain is like, the sky is blue. So that's a very simplistic example, but take that and extrapolate it to all the sentences that ever existed on the web and in all these books and every other data source that these things were trained on. And that's basically how they answer questions. But since we're talking about AI-powered search and not just large language models, we're talking about large language models that are combined with the capability to search the web, it's important to understand this thing right here. The LLM part of AI-powered search actually generates its answer first, based upon the general knowledge that it's already been trained on, which includes the entirety of the internet. Then they go looking for websites to back up and act as proof of what they already said. This is, again, in a sense, very similar to the way that our human brains work. When we need to prove something to someone, we state it, and then we go look for citations, facts, data, from reputable sources to back us up. So what do LLMs do when they've already answered your question, but now need to provide you websites to go along with that question? They actually use, as of today, regular old traditional search engines. That's right. Regular old search engines are what LLMs turn to add the links to the answers that they already answered from their general knowledge. ChatGPT uses Bing. Copilot uses Bing. Gemini obviously uses Google. Claude uses a lesser known but very privacy focused and niche following search engine called Brave. And Perplexity uses a blend of a wide variety of different search engines and knowledge sources. But basically, the LLMs answer the question first and then search the web with regular old search engines to add the citations to back up the facts that they stated. So everybody's curious right now. It's all the rage. You're like, how do I get found in ChatGPT? How do I get found in LLMs? Well, if you want your website to get found in LLMs, make sure it gets found in search engines because that's what they use. So if you want your website to get found by LLMs, the very first thing you need to do is traditional, regular old SEO. However, there are a few things to do on top of that to make your website content very LLM friendly. And that's what we'll get into now. Here's a high-level example. I've essentially kind of trained LLMs to associate the term woman-owned SEO agency with my company name, Pam and Marketing, similar to the way your brain goes, the sky is blue. It's just fill in the blank, like woman-owned SEO agency, Obviously, Pam and marketing. To get this to happen, since LLMs are trained on the internet, I said that about myself on my own website on the internet. B, got other reputable and relevant websites to describe my company that way as well. And C, established trust building signals like inbound links to my website from other reputable sites, press coverage, social media followings, etc. Basically, regular SEO. As a result, both traditional search engines and LLMs saw me describing myself that way, other reputable sources describing me that way, and other signals that I'm worthy of a recommendation. Again, this is very similar to how associations get formed in your own brain, right? That automatic reaction in your brain when you see the sentence, "the sky is blank," comes from A, you hold that opinion yourself, B, you've heard other people state that, and C, there's reputable sources to back it up. So if you want an LLM to know a fact about your brand and recommend it accordingly, emphasize that fact in your own website content, get other reputable sites to emphasize that fact about you, and build trust signals to provide credibility. So that was a high-level example of getting one association to occur, one description with one thing. What about longer form content, which is still an incredibly important part of traditional SEO and modern digital marketing and LLM optimization? Well, it's very much the same, except the long form content and more informational questions that people ask these chatbots are broken into chunks. And each individual chunk, each tidbit of information is treated as a separate thing that the LLM needs to go find a citation for to back up what it already said. In this example, we have an informational query, which is how to do a forensic SEO audit. There are a variety of points that the LLM answered with, 9 in this case, of which the first 3, my relevant article was picked as the source to back up what the LLM already answered. Remember, it answers first from its general knowledge, from its training, which does include the internet, so it did include my article amongst others. So it answers first, and then it goes and looks for backup to each point that it made. So in this case, my site was picked as the kind of backup, the proof for points 1, 2, and 3. So a very important thing to really have your brain latch onto from now on is that gone are the days of a single web page being a single thing to optimize. Each individual tidbit of information on a web page is now a separate thing to optimize separately. This involves optimizing each and every section of your long-form content to stand on its own. In this case, we can see where the individual points were made that align with the individual points that I made in my article. Now, these first 3 happen to align with my first 3. That does not always happen. Keep that in mind. The order very often gets mixed up. This is actually an unusual example of that. It just so happens to fall in order, but it's nice for this example. So my point number 1 is about interviewing stakeholders, and my point number 2 was about verifying indexability, and my point number 3 is about traffic data. That could have been in any given order in my article, and they could have provided it in a different order. But anyway, the idea is to think modularly about each point that you're making as a totally separate thing that could get jumbled into a bunch of different LLMs answers in a bunch of different points in a bunch of different orders. Just, it's totally mixed up. No longer is a single article a single thing when it comes to optimization. So your job is to optimize your content piece by piece, section by section, as individual things that are each individually worthy of being cited by an LLM as backup to its general answers. In this case, this is the work that I have to do on the other 6 points to which my article was not chosen as backup. Some of these points I didn't even make, so obviously I should add them. So that's on me to go and optimize this piece by piece to increase the likelihood that I will also be selected as the proof for additional points in this topic. Again, I'm really going to hammer this home. It's important to remember that the LLMs answer from their general knowledge first, and then they go look for websites to back up what it already said. That's important because the optimization efforts for optimizing for AI-powered search involve reverse engineering this process. You can, of course, make additional points in addition to what the LLM answers tend to make, but they all tend to make very similar points. When you ask any given one of them any informational question, you ask the same question to Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, you're going to get very similar breakdown of the different subtopics of that topic, and you're kind of bound to that. That's your opportunity to get found. That's it. So you can try to make additional points, and perhaps the LLMs will add your additional points. But for the most part, you got to make sure that you cover the points they already made and make yourself really worthy of being a proof, a backup statement to what they already are saying. So that's really the science behind optimizing your content for LLMs. But here's a few bonus tips with regard to how to structure your content. Beyond reverse engineering the answers that the LLMs give in the way that we just demonstrated, it's important to make your content structured in a way that's very easily machine digestible. The very first thing an LLM does when it ingests information is chunk it up. It's literally called chunking, like that's the technical term in the AI world for this methodology of storing information. Like I said, single web page, a single article, not stored as a single thing in an LLM's storage the way that it is in a search engine's index. It's chunked up, it's broken up. So even if you don't do the breaking up of information for it, it will break it up on its own. And whether it does so well or not, that will vary if you don't do it for them. So basically the idea is chunk up your content in a very granular, logical way for the LLMs, so they don't have to try to figure out where to break up the chunks and where to cut things off and how to segment your information. You can just do it for them super clearly, and that's so much more likely to work in that whole get them to pick you as proof thing. So that involves basically writing your content in a format that mimics the LLM format that they give to you when they give you those structured answers. So you want to make really small paragraphs, 1 to 3 sentences max. It's very much not what we were taught in school, but as you can see here, this is what we have to do now. And that's the way they answer, because that's about the amount of information that a chunk can contain in the AI's database. So you got to break it down into very granular, small paragraphs, headings and subheadings and subheadings and subheadings to the subheadings. The more subheadings, the better. So breaking that down in the proper order. So each article should still only have one heading 1, but then for each main subtopic, heading 2, and each subtopic of each subtopic, heading 3, heading 4, heading 5, heading 6, etc. And bullets and numbered lists are also very well digested and liked by LLMs. Another thing you can do to make your long form content super easy for LLMs to chunk down and understand is providing a hyperlink table of contents at the top of the article that jumps down to each of your granular subheadings and subheadings of the subheadings, etc. Humans actually like this quite a bit too. I mean, I find myself using these a lot when I encounter them on the web. I jump right to the point that I'm most curious about, and it's just much more efficient for me to consume the information that way. I'm much more likely to stay on a site that has this versus one that doesn't. Lastly, another thing that LLMs absolutely love is FAQs. They just simply love the question-answer format. It's not always possible to put all of your content in this format, but it is recommended to wherever, whenever possible, add unique, different FAQs to as many different pages of your website as you possibly can. So at this point, we've really gone through how SEO is morphing or has morphed into LLMO. There's so many different terms for it. AEO, GEO, LLMO, whatever. SEO, search engine optimization, is morphing into, arguably has already become, LLM optimization. That's the now. But let's get a little futuristic and talk about where things are going. So as of now, even though LLMs have solidly integrated themselves into the web search experience and do a lot of summarization of information for us, human users still need to do actions, right? They need to be the ones to convert. They need to click to a website to contact someone, to get pricing, to download more information, to purchase a product, etc. In the very, very near future, though, AI browsers are going to do a bunch of that for the humans. The humans will not need to click through to do something simple like fill out a contact form or place an order for a pair of pants. These AI browsers actually exist now. Perplexity has Comet. You can go download this right now, and it will attempt, it often doesn't succeed, but it will attempt to actually do things for you if you ask it to actually go fill out a contact form on a website or find a specific point in a YouTube video and take you right to it. It's definitely an experience beyond the current chatbot type functionality. It's more what they call agentic. It's a form of an AI agent that can actually do things for you more autonomously. As these AI browsers get adopted, it will transform the user experience from where the human is more of a passive navigator to an active delegator. Right now, we're just having LLMs summarize things for us, and we're still going and doing the things. But these AI browsers are making it so that we can now tell the browser to do the thing. It doesn't do it quite well right now. This is very clunky. It's very early. But this is where browsers are going. So if you can think just a bit ahead into the future, think like a few years ago before ChatGPT was even a thing, to now, and how comfortable with it we are now, and how we rely on LLMs like it now. If you can think of that kind of a near future, like the few year term, these AI browsers are going to gain popularity. And there will be a reality where instead of, doing a lot of things ourselves online, we will be able to converse with our browser and tell it to go and do things for us. From a marketing perspective, this is obviously going to shift our goals from getting search engine rankings, which today still very much matter. As I demonstrated before, even the LLMs still use traditional search engines, so that still matters today. But we will be definitely shifting our focus away from search engine rankings and towards AI agent recommendations. Here's just a quick demonstration of what Comet, Perplexity's AI browser, can do or claims to be able to do as of right now. I told it to shortlist the top accounting firms in Morris County, New Jersey, and submit a contact form requesting business tax return pricing from each. It followed up and asked me, well, first it gave me a short list, but then it asked me, would you like me to submit a request with identical information, or do you want to describe more details, blah, 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 blah. I gave it the default message, looking for a new accountant for my small business, reach out to me at, and I put fake contact information. It then actually went to the sites of the shortlisted firms and attempted to fill out their contact forms. It did not succeed. That's the clunkiness that I'm referring to that exists right now. But those kinks are going to be ironed out. Think about the first iteration of ChatGPT and how clunky that was, or Gemini, or Bard, as it was called, telling us to put glue on our pizza to keep the cheese from falling off, and that running with scissors is good exercise. Like, that was clunky at first too, but look how fast that became overcome. So this is where we are literally today. But you can see how in the very near future, this whole thing is actually going to work, and humans will not need to go to websites nearly as much as they do now. Now, if we take this and extrapolate this to the future, why would websites even need to exist? If humans don't need to go to them and AI agents are doing all the converting, why would we even need websites? We certainly won't, at least not in the form that they exist now. Right now, humans do still do the majority of clicking, so we do still have to worry about the human user experience on our website, how pretty and slick it looks, etc. But click-through rates are already declining. Reliability on AI overviews, the overviews, the summaries at the top of search engine results, is growing, and click-through rates are sinking. So that's already happening. There's less human interaction on websites already. And with AI browsers right around the corner, that's only going to go down even more. At that point, once humans hardly ever go to websites anymore, your digital marketing will rarely reach humans directly. In order to acquire a customer, you'll have to go through their AI agent. It's kind of like making an appointment with a doctor, right? Now think about it like you can't just call up Dr. So-and-so and say, hey, I want an appointment with you. You have to go through their staff. It's just how it has to get done. That's the future of marketing. You are going to have to go through your target audience's staff, quote unquote, their AI agents, to reach them. And you're going to have to convince the agent to recommend you to them. Thankfully, we have some time before that occurs. But to recap, we need to start preparing for that future now. And pieces of that future are here now. Right now, it's super important to optimize your content for not just traditional search engines, yes, still that, but also LLMs with all the things we talked about, because SEO has really already become LLMO. LLM optimization. That will eventually become AXO, is what I'm referring to it for now. Who knows what we'll call it then, but agent experience optimization. That whole thing where you will have to go through the agent to get to the human, and the human won't even be on your website anymore. I really believe that day is coming, but I do believe we have time. So focus now and for the coming year on LLMO or AI SEO, whatever you want to call it, AI-powered search. I hope that was helpful. I love nerding out about this stuff, so if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to me at any of these places or join for the live Q&A.